On this episode of How'd You Get Here, we talk with motivator, businesswoman, and life coach, Andrea Palten. She's a very friendly, awesome lady, and I hope you enjoy this interview.
I came from Germany, small town Aalen, and
Okay.
out of all the places we pick, my dad picks Los Angeles, California.
Wow.
So we went from small town, my friends were farmers, to LA. So
Wow.
it was
Culture shock.
quite a huge culture shock.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you were younger, growing up in Germany, what was life like? I mean, were you like milking cows and like running through like rolling
meadow.
hills? Yeah, exactly.
My name was Heidi, and no, actually, the town, I say it's a small town, it was 30,000 people, so it was not a small town.
Right.
But farming
Smaller than LA.
Yeah, smaller than LA. Farming communities were all around, so we did do that. I had friends that were on the farms, and I play on the farms. In general, though, it was just a very outdoor kind of community. We didn't play video games. We weren't in the house. We didn't watch TV. We had one television in the entire house, and it was in a room that was our TV room that we only watched Fridays and Saturdays as a family.
Really?
That's
So
it.
everyone would get down and watch TV together.
Yes.
What was it, like German shows like Baywatch and stuff? You like watch David Hasselhoff? Like,
No, and I don't understand the David Hasselhoff thing.
Germans love David Hasselhoff.
Not me, and I don't get it. But no, we had 3 television stations in Germany. That's
Okay.
it when I was growing up. And they were news or they were like TV shows. So we watched a lot of Alfred Hitchcock kind of stuff.
Okay.
And like game shows. That's
That's
all
it.
I remember. But honestly, we preferred, being outside, doing fun things, playing. We play a lot of tennis.
Okay.
Of course, in Germany, you play soccer.
Right.
And then, when we were kids, we were on our bikes all day long.
That's it.
That's it. Just played outside in the woods.
Nice.
In the cemetery, we played there a lot too.
Creepy. Sounds like what's his Stephen King?
Yeah.
It's like Germany. Cemetery.
Fog.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all dark.
It's like creepy. So what were your parents like? I mean, just kind of like working at Germans?
Yeah. So my parents, very different people. Mom and dad, totally different people. I am my dad all the way.
Okay.
The reason that we're probably sitting here is because of my dad. He was a complete, just free-spirited, wanted to do different things in life. He told me later on when he was older, it would have been better if he wouldn't have gotten married and wouldn't have had us kids.
You're like,
because his life would have been more fulfilling.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. So he always wanted to leave. He's like, I want to go anywhere. I don't care where. He just asked my mom to go to Japan, to China, to America. And she always would say, no, 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 no. And her excuse was her mother. Then once my grandmother, her mother passed away, my dad said, okay, we're leaving. You get to choose China or America. And so my mom said, all right, let's go to America. And she was really scared and nervous about it. And my dad was like, let's go.
Right.
And that's kind of the spirit I have, where I'm always on the move. I want to do new things. I want to experience things, and I want to have adventures. And that's how he was. And so we moved to America.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did your parents speak the language, or
A little bit.
did you have like family members here or
No.
other people that was like, oh, okay, we can...
No, we had nobody here besides the company that asked my dad to come here. It was
Okay.
a German company.
Okay.
And they just said, hey, we have a job for you here if you want to come. And I think I had at that point 2 years of English in school.
Okay.
And then my brother had like 4 or 5, and my mom had like a few years.
Okay.
But we were just like, we'll figure it out when we get
Yeah.
there. And we did.
And were you excited as a kid, or were you kind of nervous or scared, or like...
Oh, no, I was excited.
Okay.
McDonald's and Disneyland. That's all you needed to tell me.
I've seen the TV. I've seen how Americans live. It's
We had no
amazing.
McDonald's in Germany at the time, or at least in my town.
Right.
And that was really my most. I think that's all my parents said.
Yeah,
We're going
'cause
to go to LA, and there's going to be Disneyland and McDonald's.
You're like, done.
I was like, in.
So how old were you at that point?
I was 12.
Okay,
Or I
so-
was 11 when we first talked about it.
Okay.
And then when we moved here, I was 12.
Okay. So you're like in middle school at that point?
Yeah.
And kind of going through an awkward phase.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of a sucky time to go to like a new school and have to make new friends. Like, how did you...
Yes, and it actually shaped me who I am today, because actually bad things happened when I moved to America.
Yeah.
So in Germany, I was a little popular girl. I had all the friends. I already
Yeah.
had boyfriends, and
Yeah.
did my thing, and moved to America. And I had an accent, but I looked American.
Right.
So people were really thrown off because they'd see me and they'd be like, oh,
Hey,
she's
what's
American.
up?
And then I
you'd be
would
like, wunderbar.
totally. Wunderbar. And I was also wearing on my first day of school pink neon shorts with a yellow and green neon t-shirt.
Okay.
Yeah. So in Germany, kids were kids. In America, 12-year-olds were like 24-year-old women.
Right.
So very different. So I got bullied quite a bit. And I had to go in English as a second language classes.
Okay.
And I was a more minority there too because it was LA. So it was like
A lot Hispanic
95%
speaking.
Hispanic.
Yeah.
And then the 5% was usually an Asian culture and me. And I stuck out there.
Yeah.
And so it was really difficult to get acclimated and make friends because nobody really wanted to be friends with me because I was wearing neon and I had an accent.
That was in. Do you remember those hyper?
Not at 12 in LA. It was not in, let me tell you.
Do you remember those hypercolor shirts that you could like touch them and they would change color? Did you ever have those? And it was like
we did not have
fluorescent.
those.
So it'd be like blue and then you could touch them and be like fluorescent green.
See, I would
So
totally
cool.
wear that today.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
I'm
Hypercolor
kind of
shirts.
missing my neon.
And then I had the MC Hammer pants. Did you ever have those?
Oh yeah, the
They were like-
Cavarici pants is what we called them in LA.
Cavarici.
Yes,
Sounds-
that was the brand.
Okay. Yeah, so I had some of those. I thought they were pretty cool. Hammer pants.
Yep.
Okay, so you're in school. You're an
Yes.
outcast everywhere you go.
Totally an outcast, and
So did you go home like cry on your pillow every night?
Oh yeah.
and-
No, I actually one of the teachers, I love her, Mrs. Jones, wherever you are, I love you. She was from Germany, and so
okay.
she noticed that I was getting picked on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really scary in LA school to be alone on your breaks, and so she'd like come sit with me, and so I would sit with her during lunch breaks and stuff like that. But anyway, so what happened was I ended up finding these two other outcasts in my PE class because PE sports. The ESL and the Americans mixed.
Okay.
And so I had these two girls. They were always picked last with me. And keeping in mind, I'm an athlete.
Right.
And I was picked last just because I had an accent and I was an outsider.
Not cool.
Yeah, not cool. But the other two girls were also the outcasts, and they were both American. And I ended up being friends with them.
Okay.
And things went downhill even more from there. I don't know how deep you want to go into my sordid past.
I mean, as much as you want to share.
I'm actually really open about it. But
I mean, because so at that point, was it kind of a rebellious thing then? You started hanging out with these rejects?
No, so
and you're
the
like, let's start a
rejects-
gang.
Almost. You're actually almost there. So we had nothing to do. We didn't get invited to any parties. So we started driving around because that's what you do in LA. You cruise. And we started cruising and we saw this kid. I don't remember his name. Probably shouldn't say his name. He was tagging. He was spray painting a wall.
Banksy?
And so it wasn't Banksy. And so we pulled over and we're like, hi, do you know of any parties? Because
Are you
we had to
serious?
crash parties where people didn't know us.
No one invited us, so you just had to crash them.
So we found some tagger. And he's like, well, actually, yeah, but I'm not done yet. And he didn't have a car, and we did. And he's like, do you want to drive me around? So we drove him around, and I learned all about spray painting that night. And we became a little spray painting group.
Are
the
you
three of us.
serious?
Yes, I was a horrible kid. I was a tagger.
It's
And
kind of cool.
so we started I would wear a hood. I think
Like
my
all
hood-
black?
No, we're girls. We
Okay,
don't wear all
fluorescent
black.
still?
No fluorescent. I wore a dark green hood. I'm not going to say their names.
So this is high school at this point?
Yeah,
So you kind of make it through...
16.
Okay, yeah. So you make it through middle school, okay.
Yeah.
You get to high school. You're still you're still an outcast a little
Totally
bit.
an outcast,
Okay. And
yeah.
I mean, LA is such a huge place where it's kind of like, I'm sure especially once you go to high school, it's like all these schools probably feed into one school. So it's like you're a new kid all of a sudden as your freshman year starts over.
Instead of reinventing myself, I stuck with my friends.
Okay.
I'm a people person. I'm a
You're
very
loyal.
loyal person.
Yeah.
So I stuck with I hate to say it, but reject friends like me. I was a reject.
Yeah.
And so we just stayed together.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were spray painting all the time. So I was my green hood, my friend was in a yellow hood, and my friend was in a red hood. And then we had our hoods on.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, we're in this alley spray painting, and all of a sudden we hear, I can't say it. Hold on, it's cussing. Like, what's up? Where are you from? Essays. And we turn around, and there's a gang, literally, like gangsters are standing behind us, and it was a Hispanic gang, and they're like asking us where we're from. And so we turn around and there we are. One of us is black, two of us are white, and we take our little hoodies off and we're these little girls. And they're like, they start laughing.
Like,
they just
what?
start busting up and they're like, what? That's you guys? We keep seeing your spray paint all over town and we thought you guys were a new gang
serious?
coming in. And we're all like, no, we just like to spray paint.
So did you live in fear a lot from like cops and gang members and stuff?
I
mean,
mean, too stupid.
Yeah.
I don't think we noticed, And so then we started hanging out with these kids. And yes, they're gangbangers. And so
I would have never, ever guessed this.
I thought I told you this.
No.
Oh my gosh, I totally.
This makes this that much more exciting.
Oh yeah. So we were so
you're a little
immature.
white German gangbanger in LA.
Not a gangbanger. I just hung out with them. And so they started inviting us to parties. Hello, that's what I've been looking for 4 years since moving to America. It's like, where is my party? So we started going to these gangster parties. And, again, we stick out like a sore thumb because I never seemed to fit in anywhere. Mm-hmm. And got in trouble quite a bit there. We never did anything bad or illegal besides the spray painting. But people got shot. We went to funerals.
Really?
And it was like a scary time. At that point, I started realizing, this is kind of stupid.
Yeah,
this
like
is
what do I
bad.
want to do with my life?
No, not life. Just like maybe I should party with other people.
More positive influence.
Yeah.
So did your parents have a clue at that point? I mean,
No.
would you come home like...
I had a separate set of clothing that I had outside the house that I would change into.
Yeah.
And so my parents were so clueless. Being in Germany, we don't have that kind of thing.
Right.
And I only spoke to them in German. So when I spoke in English, I started doing little like curse words and little Spanish words here and there. And so people realized, okay, there's something wrong with her. She's obviously hanging out with these kids. Yeah. But my parents never knew. So until I got pulled over and we got arrested and we were in jail. And
what did you get pulled over for?
We actually didn't do anything, so just keep that in mind. We had gangbangers in the car, and they had done a drive-by before us, and they asked us to pick them up, and we didn't know why. We just thought we're gonna go hang out and go to a party, and so we got pulled over. It was scary. We got pulled over, helicopters and all, and then they took us in. It wasn't arresting. Well, it was because they put us in the back of the car. But once they talked to us, they realized we were so clueless, and we were just like,
yeah,
we're just driving around.
We just picked these guys up.
Yeah, and then they put us in a room together, and I'm pretty sure it's one of those rooms that's recorded, or like those mirror ones, and they heard us talk about how dumb we are, and we're just like, I wonder if they arrested us because we were, we went over the red light, or we had no seatbelts on, And meanwhile, there was a guy with a gun in our car. We had no idea.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's how my parents found out.
Because they had to come bail you out.
They had to come. Well, they wouldn't bail me. They basically just called and said, "Listen, we have your child here, and she got in trouble, but she's okay. She didn't do anything. Go pick her up."
So how old were you at this point?
I think I was like 16, 17.
Okay, so then was there a point in high school or whatnot that you started to feel like, all right, I got to think about college and maybe stop hanging around with the gangbangers and going to crazy parties and stuff like that?
Yeah, basically, there was a funeral that kind of all of a sudden was like, wait, this is no longer funny. This is no longer cool because you have somewhere to go on the weekends now. Yeah. But it really was. We were such outsiders. We never had friends. And then all of a sudden, we were invited to all these things, and people at school would be like, oh, yeah, those are those girls that hang out with those scary guys, so we can't, bully them anymore. So it was one of those things where, we just had a better life being with these horrible kids, and we were not bullied anymore. But then when we went to a funeral, somebody got shot, we said, this is stupid. We need to get out of this. And then I went to community college. And after that, really reinvented myself and just said, I'm no longer going to be doing this. I'm not going to be hanging out with these kinds of kids. I'm just going to just be me. And for some reason, in college, in community college, I was 18. All of a sudden, my accent was sexy. And guys were like, hey,
where are are you from?
Yeah. So I had this little ugly duckling thing going on, and all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, this is pretty
Getting
cool.
attention from the boys. And
yeah. And in high school, I used to lie and say my last name was Padilla, so I could be more Hispanic. And then all of a sudden,
blue eyes.
yeah, blue eyes with an accent. And then all of a sudden in college, I was going back into my roots and my Germanness, and proud of it, and was excited that I came from another country. I've traveled a lot, and I'm kind of a worldly person, and it really worked in my favor all of a sudden again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then when you were in college, did you know what you wanted to do? I mean, at the end of high school, you were like, all right, I'm going to go to community college to kind of figure out what I want to do. And then...
Yeah, I had no clue. In community college, I still was looking for parties. I ended up looking at journalism. And I think the reason I ended up looking at journalism is because of my move. So it wasn't my passion. It was more from my experience and my life at the time. I wanted to do international news because I'm from Germany and I'm an international person. And I wanted to do international news. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to be a journalist. And really excited about it. I wanted to be on TV. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I can be like an anchor or something. And chose that as a career at the time. I was, I was 18. And so I went to study journalism. And at that point, I was ready to leave LA.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I go back to Germany? What do I do? And at the time, I was snowboarding a lot. Skiing, and then I started snowboarding. Okay. And so I just said, you know what? Where can I go where there's actually snow? So again, it was about the party and about the snow.
Yeah.
It was not about my career yet. And I ended up going to CU Boulder. Okay. So that's how I landed in Colorado.
Interesting.
Yeah. And didn't care about my career as much at that time. I landed here when I was 20. That's when I started thinking, okay, what will my life look like? What would it be like? And journalism just seemed like a good fit at the time.
Yeah, if you're going to do something.
Yeah. And I was really good at it. I liked it. I was excited about it, enough excited about it. And so I started doing journalism and worked for the Columbine shooting. Yeah, and that was awful.
Yeah.
I actually had to interview somebody that lost their niece, and the person started crying, and he fell on the floor, and I hugged him, and I picked him up, and the producer had said to me that I should never do that. I should leave them laying on the floor crying because it's better TV. And that's when my real Andrea came out and my passion came out, and I realized I'm such a people person, and I want to lift people up, and I want to help them, and I want to coddle them if I have to, or I want to just push them up, and that wasn't the right fit for me.
Yeah.
If someone's going to cry on me, I'm going to be hugging them. I'm going to be taking care of them. I'm going to try to lift them up. That's just who I am. And I realized maybe this is not the right career for me because I'm not cutthroat. I'm not cut out to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So then at that point, were your parents pretty do whatever you want, like with your life kind of thing? Like, hey, figure it out. I mean, how were they pretty involved or not really? It's kind of like they're working, trying to survive, and you go off and do your thing. My parents, we had a really interesting dynamic. So when we moved here, I was the only one that could speak English because I was the youngest. So I actually led the family. I talked to lawyers for the green cards and stuff. Yeah. I went shopping and I did all the translations. All the paperwork came to me. And so I was almost like the adult in the family unit, and they were like, oh, she can do whatever. She's good. She'll figure it out. And she's smart. She'll be whatever she wants to be. And so it was never led by my parents that way at all. It was always like, okay, what do I want to do? Okay, this is what I want to do. Yeah. So very interesting. Not a normal parents shape the child. I really just shaped myself. Yeah, that's interesting. And kind of cool too. Yeah. So then you came to Colorado. Once you realized journalism is not for you, then what was at that point, what did you want to do? So I worked at a radio station and I hated it. First of all, it was a 3:00 in the morning shift, so very bad. And the company next door, love this man, another person that helped me to be who I am today, Joe Pizzillo. He's still in Colorado. He owned Go Gaga. It was one of the first internet radio stations.
And we started talking, and he had a marketing coordinator position open. And so I said, okay, I can do that. Never done any marketing in my life. Never took a marketing course in my life.
You got to put yourself out there.
So I'm like, me. And he picked me. And so I became a marketing coordinator. And then I taught myself marketing.
Wow.
And so it was a complete career shift.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It wasn't my passion,
right.
but I liked it enough, and I liked it more than journalism, that I was like, okay, this is good. I like to be around people, and a lot of the stuff back in the day in marketing, especially there was guerrilla marketing, where I put stickers on cars. Mm-hmm. I talked to people online. I went out and just talked to people, and it was all about people again.
Right.
Yeah, and that's how my marketing career started.
Wow. And so then when you got into marketing, were you thinking, oh, I'm going to climb to the top of some sort of corporate ladder, or were you kind of like, as things came your way, you just walked through those doors?
Yeah, so I, at that time, still wasn't thinking about my future. It took me a long time to realize I'm going to live a long life, and I should probably think about my future. So at that time, it was just like, whatever, it was fun. And so the next job that came along, they had introduced website work. Okay. And I'm like, oh, I've never done that. I should do that. And so I just interviewed, and the interview was so easy. All the guy asked about was Germany, which soccer team I liked, and what I did on the weekends. And he didn't ask me a thing about marketing, and he gave me the job.
There you go.
So it was really easy to get this job. And that's when I learned my marketing. Mm-hmm. And incidentally, found out what my passion was, but I didn't realize it at this job.
Yeah.
So this job, I'm a marketing, I think at this point I was a marketing manager, and I managed for people for the first time, never done that before. And I loved it. I loved it. And I didn't like managing as in like, do this, do that.
Right.
I liked the leadership aspect of how can I help you? How can I grow you? How can I get you where you wanted to be?
Yeah.
And at that point I was in a cubicle, and
gotta love that cubicle.
Love the cubicle world. And all these people in the company started coming over to me. This is a huge company, Transamerica, so very big. People started coming over to me and talking to me about, hey, I don't like my boss. What do I do? Hey, I have a problem with this employee. Hey, my boyfriend sucks. What should I do? He's cheating on me. And these people started coming to me and asking me all these questions. And I was like, wait, this, I'm liking this. Yeah. And I ended up putting a chair in my cubicle so people could sit down. Later on, I learned that people would have conversations with each other, and they would say, oh, I don't know what to do about this. And they would say, hey, go to Andrea. She has the crying chair in her cubicle. Nice. And so I had like the crying chair. No, unbeknownst to me, I had no idea that's people were calling that. And they were coming over. And I noticed that, in hindsight, I noticed that I was spending more time with people and getting them to where they want to be than actually doing marketing.
Right.
And I did marketing because I had to get paid, but that was what was fun for me. And never really realized it until later on in my life when I was like, okay, I love people. I want to help people. I want to be a life coach. That's when I realized my whole career when I started in marketing has led to this. And I've already been doing this for 15 years, but I didn't really know I was doing it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So you kind of worked your way up through different companies, doing marketing, director of marketing, all those other kind of things.
Yes.
And then you were always restless.
Always restless.
Right. It was always like you never felt completely satisfied, or it was always looking on to the next thing and never being present.
Yes.
And so at what point did you realize, like, oh crap, I think I want to be a life coach. I think I want
It took me a while, Mark. It took me a while. So my resume, if anybody wants to look at it, LinkedIn, it's kind of funny. 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 6 months. I had one job where I lasted for 3 years. And guess what? It was for a nonprofit, and it was all about helping children and animals, helping people, helping animals. Yeah. And that's the only reason I lasted. It wasn't the marketing job. It was that. And so, so I was kind of like, okay, what should my goal be? And at this point, I started realizing I'm going to live a long time. I need a goal. And I just wanted to like climb in marketing. Mm-hmm. And so I would work at a company, and then I'd leave and get to a better job at a next company. Mm-hmm. And I'd succeed. And then I would leave again and get another better job. And I'd keep getting like better and bigger titles and more money. But after 6 months, man, every single time I was out, I was like, I don't like it. And the first 6 months was fun. I got to meet people. I got to talk to people. Yeah. And it became really apparent to me that this is not a career choice for me when I was picking the people and the staff over the brand and the company. So for example, I would have people come to me and say, hey, Andrea, I want to have a better job. I want to make more money, or I want to change marketing. I don't like it anymore. And so my own staff was coming to me and asking me for career advice that had nothing to do with the company I was working at. So I was managing these people out of the jobs.
Right.
And so obviously I was not a company man. I was completely like, what do you need to do? And I would help with resumes. I would help with how to do interviews. I would like try to figure out their passion so they could move on. And they would leave the companies I was working for, and I was the best staff.
You're like, I don't think this job is for you.
I think it is. You're awesome. You're like the best staff person we have. You need to go somewhere better. And that's when I was starting to realize, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. It's the people. It's the coaching. It's that. And I ended up. My father passed away 3 years ago, and I ended up going to a life coach. And at that point, I didn't even know what a life coach was. I just had heard about it. A friend of mine went to one, and I was going to a grief therapist after my dad died, and I hated it. Oh, I hated therapy. It did not work for me at all.
Interesting.
I look ahead, I look in the future, and I live in the now. I don't live in the past. So when they were asking me about my relationship with my dad when I was 3,
you're like,
I'm out. Like, no, he died. That's all I care about. Like right now, like how do I get on from this? And so she had told me to go to a life coach, because therapists are awesome. When you have any kind of issues like depression, anxiety, go to a therapist. I mean, my best friend's a therapist, and they're awesome. They're awesome. I just didn't have that. All I wanted to do is work right now. How do I get from my grief to the next stage, which is, to me, was happy memories. That's all I wanted to do. How do I get there? And so I ended up working with a life coach, and it turned out we ended up talking about my passions and why I'm working in marketing and why am I at someone else's company. And she didn't get it. She's like, listen, from everything that I'm seeing and from the way that you are, it makes 0 sense what you're doing. And so I told her my life story about people always coming to me asking for advice and what kind of questions people had for me. And my entire life I was like that. My mom said I was like that in the sandbox. I would like tell people like, hey, you're really good at shoveling. You should have the shovel. And you're good at hammering. You should have the hammer. And I would like pass out roles for people that they would excel at.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the life coach discovered that in me. And I discovered it in myself with her help, I should say, because that's what life coaching is.
Yeah.
You don't advise people. You help them get to where they want to be on their own. And you really help them dive into their own thinking and their own patterns to realize what's more, what else can I do? What else is out there?
Yeah.
And so, so with her, I learned this is where my future is. It's the same thing that she's doing. And so I decided that life coaching and business coaching is the way to go. And at that point I was like, oh, I'm in my 40s. Like, is this okay to change careers again?
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. I mean, you're in your 40s. You have an established career. You're making good money.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of people, they live in that space of fear, right? It's like, I'm not happy. I'm miserable, but I'm afraid to try something else or to do something different because of the security of the finances or, the prestige or whatever it is. So what brought you to that point that you said, I don't care about the money. I don't care about the prestige. I just want to do something that fulfills me, that I can give back and be content and happy, I guess. Yeah. So what was that you just kind of threw it out and said, all right, I'm doing this?
I don't know if I've told you this, Mark. This might be a first too.
Yeah.
Do you remember our conversation 4 years ago in front of an agency and we were standing outside and you said to me, Andrea, money is not everything. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
That was one of the reasons. You're one of the reasons that that always stuck in my mind, and that I made money everything. My whole thing about what makes me fulfilled at the time, I thought was the money and the title. And I always wanted a bigger title. It was the first thing I asked for. I'm like, what's the title going to be? And then I would ask for the money. What's the money going to be?
Yeah.
And the more money I was making and the higher the titles that were going, the more unhappy I was. And I always went back to that, money isn't everything. Money isn't everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really hard. It was a huge fear I had to overcome. And that was part of the life coaching. And once I started training myself, I started learning about me, that my way of significance and recognition of myself is money and title.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started thinking, like, what the heck is this? Why would I care about this so much? And then once I realized my thought was money and title, I started writing it down, old school, pen and paper, started writing down like what that means to me, what a title means, what money means to me. And I started realizing it was all BS. Like completely BS. It was just dumb. I wanted people to see that I've come a long way. And part of it is coming from Germany, and I had to overcome a lot, and I got praised for all the stuff that I did. So I had to keep making things up and getting bigger and making more money and bigger titles. So I keep getting that praise. Yeah. And that's when I started learning, like, I don't need outside praise. I need inside praise. I need it from me. I need to say to myself, hey, you rock. If you make $0 and you're helping 5 people a day, you're done. You're good.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need all that other jazz.
Right.
And so it was a really big fear thing. And I was making a lot of money when I quit my last marketing job. And I did save. So I didn't just, like bounce immediately.
Right.
I wanted to bounce after 6 months. I ended up lasting for almost 2 years. Almost. My goal was 2 years, but I think I bounced at 1 year and 8 months.
Yeah.
But I did save money. And so I did have that cushion, because I don't ever advise people to, like, just, you don't like your job, just leave, because you do need money to survive.
Yeah.
So I saved some money, and I have a wonderful, wonderful husband who has his own career. We're not loaded, but we have enough that we can pay our mortgage and we can eat and we can do our thing. And so I said, you know what, get over this fear. What's your passion? What's going to fulfill you? Because whatever fulfills me is going to help the people that I'm working with. If I'm happy and I can share my life, my light, then those people can see that there is another way. And my whole thing is, you're never stuck. You're never stuck. You never need to be where you're at. There's always more if you want it. There's always more for the taking. Yeah. And yes, it might not be money and it might not be titles, but what fulfills you? And that's the thing. A lot of us, we just kind of like go to that day to day. We have our 8 to 5. We come home, we eat something, maybe from the microwave. Then we watch TV, we go to bed, and then we do the same thing every single day. That to me is hell on earth. That is sad. And so I don't want to live like that, and I don't live like that. And I want to teach people, like, you don't. Here are some tools. This is how you get to your passion. This is how you get to have a fulfilling life. And this is how you get to be excited once again.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even tell you how many people I have that I know that they're in their mid-40s, their early 50s, and they're like waiting to die. They're sitting on the couch eating bonbons and getting sick, and they're just there's nothing there. Why can't you find your passion at 80? Why can't you find your new hobby at 90? I mean, it's all out there for the taking. Just take it.
Yeah, I think that's a very important thing, because I feel like I run across a lot of people that, they always think that, if I have more money, I'll have more satisfaction. And we all see the celebrities who kill themselves, and, the people who are drug addicts and alcoholics because they may have the fame and the money, but they're still miserable inside. And it's one of those things that I always like to remind people, to say, just because you have more money does not mean that you're going to have more satisfaction. And I think what happens to a lot of people, and I think this is why you see celebrities commit suicide and stuff, is because they get to where they think that they'll be satisfied and content and happy, and then they get there and they're like, I'm still miserable inside.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I just like to encourage people to say, hey, if you're in this moment, if you're present and you can be content and happy, then I think if you seek more money and all those other things, that will be added to you, and you can be content and happy. But I think if you can't be content and happy, even if you don't have all the money and all the fame, then I don't think that's really going to change anything.
Yeah.
And it's really sad, because I think a lot of people, they base their happiness on some sort of future scenario, future life that they don't have yet, and so they can never be happy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a bummer, because I think people are missing out on a lot of joy and experiences because they're living in some sort of idealistic future.
Oh yeah, and that's one of the things that a lot of the clients that I talk to, that's the problem they have. It's twofold. It's exactly what you just said. The future. Oh, once I lose that weight, once I have that money, once I land that man. And then the other thing is it's external. Mm-hmm. The man, the fat loss, and the money. It has to be internal. Mm-hmm. If you're looking for outside help to be happy, you're never going to be happy. Yeah. It has to be internal. You have to be able to be with yourself and feel good about yourself and give back to community, be with friends, have some kind of community going on to really be fulfilled. There's just so many things. There's one tool that I use a lot. It's the 6 human needs. Tony Robbins, and I don't know if he invented it, but he's the one that teaches this. And we all need this. We all need significance. We all need variety. We all need certainty. We all also need uncertainty because sometimes it's excitement and things like that. And those 4 needs, most of us get one way or the other, in a bad way or in a good way. And then the 2 extra needs is love and connection and community. And those 2 things, a lot of us don't have. You can get community by volunteering. You can get community by going to church. You can get community by joining meetups. It's out there. Mm-hmm. Again, it's out there for the taking. We just don't do it. And then the love and connection, yes, it's a little bit harder, but if you love first, if it's your family, your friends, or, a spouse, just give the love and then you can get the connection back. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us are not looking at that. They are looking at the future for the money or the title or whatever else. And that's what I did in the past. And guess what? Just like you said, I never was happy. I actually got unhappier. Similar to the celebrities. They get there and now they're in their $1 billion mansion and they look around and it's empty. There are no friends, or they're paying for their friends. And that's why there's so much unhappiness there. So you have to find it within yourself. And that is really by living a fulfilled life, by knowing what your passions are and your values and living by them.
Yeah. And I think finding the blessing even in the small things, like practicing gratitude, I think is really huge.
Yes.
Because sometimes we get so caught up in that future mindset in life that we forget about the things in our present, right? Like simple things that can bring you happiness and joy, like going on a hike or taking a warm shower or the smell after a rain, or, there's like so many things that if you really broke them down, you could say, wow, this is really fulfilling. And this brings me a lot of peace and contentment and joy. And then the other thing I think when we were talking earlier about just the money too, one of the things that I've learned at least is that I've just been passionate about whatever I was doing and the money seemed to come.
Yep.
It's like I put myself into something, I was good to people around me, and the money found its way to me. It's just worked out.
Yeah.
And so, I always tell people, it's like, I think when you live in a place of contentment and peace and happiness, that the world's going to see that and that's going to be attractive to them. Yep. I always tell my kids, I say, the majority of people you're going to be around in your life are going to be negative and they're going to be complaining and miserable. So if you are the opposite of that, people are going to take notice of you because you'll be so different from the rest of the world that people will want to be around you and they'll want to, lift you up and help you be successful.
Yeah. And that makes you feel good too as a person, right? So your kids, when they are that bright light, people are going to notice it and it's going to make them feel good and give them more self-worth. I actually just got on a phone call with somebody the other day and she said, I've had such bad things happen the last couple of days. And she was listing all the bad things like we like to do. And she ended it with saying, I'm so glad that we get to be on a call. I finally have something positive and I get to see your smiling face. It was a webinar. I get to see your smiling face and I get to actually feel uplifted in this call. And so it made me feel really good. Like, look at this. This woman is having a really tough time and I'm the one that's lifting her up. And that's payment enough right there. I don't need the check after that. But that is enough. But it is sad that we do complain first a lot of times. And it's just, this is bad. Well, what is good? Yeah. What is good? And the people that can do that and say that and always find something good, those are the happier people. Those are the people that are more fulfilled. And again, with what you were saying earlier with the mindful and being in the moment, it's huge. I practice mindfulness all the time because I love change and I love new and I love growing. So I'm already like writing a book right now in my head, and I'm already like 10 steps ahead of the speaking engagement I want to do in 5 years. So I try to get myself back and be like, no, this is the moment. This moment right here, sitting with Mark, is the coolest moment. You know, this is cool. Like, why am I thinking ahead of something else that may or may not come? I might not be here tomorrow, you know?
Right.
But it's just really enjoying and living to the fullest is really being in mindfulness. And the gratitude is huge. I have a gratitude journal. I write in it almost every day. It's my goal to really, in 2019, to do it daily. And I wake up and that's the first thing I do. I have like my coffee and I write in the gratitude journal, like, what am I grateful for? And it's not big things like, you know, my husband, my house. It's little things.
Dogs.
Yeah, my dogs. I love my dogs. It's little things. Like, you know, I made my mom smile yesterday. My niece has a great opportunity in the future. Like things that are not about me a lot of times. And it really makes me happy. And it makes me feel like, whoa, this is cool. Life is cool. This is where it should be.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you kind of decided you want to be a life coach, did you just start doing a lot of research, and did you start figuring out, okay, what kind of certificates I need to take? And and you were kind of working your day job and then also kind of a side hustle trying to figure things out.
So right when I first started, I had 4 jobs, and that was because of all the pursuit of money. And I was just, that's all I was doing. Working, TV, working. And it was just awful. And I was like, ooh, this is not going to work for me. So I started cutting off all these different jobs I had. And then when I decided on the life coaching, that is my passion, that's where I should be, and I want to help other people live a great life, I just started researching, and my life coach gave me advice too, right? So she told me that the school that she recommended for me was Robbins Madonnas. That's where Tony Robbins comes in. And I liked the school. Good. But because I loved it so much, I started listening to every single podcast, reading every single blog, researching the crap out of everything that has to do with life coaching, business coaching, career coaching, health coaching, relationship coaching. And I found my own people. And one of my heroes, her name is Brooke Castillo. She runs the Life Coach School, and I signed up to be in that school. There's a scholars program that I'm in, and she is exactly the way I want to teach, and the way I want to live my life, and the way I want to help my clients. And hers is really about positivity, but it's all about your thoughts. Every time you have a feeling, there's a thought behind it. You can change your reality by just tweaking a thought. That's all. And I love her, and I love her style. And so that's been my biggest learnings. And what I started doing is practicing it on myself. I have, for my clients now, I have worksheets and workbooks, and actually I give them homework. It is like a school in a way. I give them homework, and I started doing this all by myself first, just to really be the guinea pig. Does this work? How can I tweak it? From all the teachings I was getting from all these different schools, I kind of put it together for me and what I want. And the clients that do come to me are very similar to me, where they have a good life, but they just want it better. They just want to have a little bit more excitement. They want to just have a little bit more fulfillment. And so they're just the ones that are seeking and wanting. And so that's my style anyways. And so I started just looking at those kinds of teachings. And I started just tweaking it for myself the way that I know that would work for me and for my clients. And so I kind of just learned from a lot of these different teachers and just made it my own thing.
Yeah.
And it's working.
That's awesome.
You should sign up.
Hey. So when you first put yourself out there and somebody said, hey, I'd like to work with you, I mean, were you just like over the moon excited? Like, oh my gosh, I think I can do this now, you know?
Oh yeah. So I started just kind of putting my feelers out because I was a little bit of a chicken, instead of just saying, oh, I was already going to life coaching schools, and I was already getting my certifications in learning. And so I didn't tell anybody. I just started like kind of poking my head in. A lot of people on LinkedIn, I would just write to them. I'm like, oh yeah, so I'm thinking about doing this and that. And people would have such a great positive comeback. And they're like, oh my God, I want to sign up. Once you're ready, I want to be one of your clients. And I almost took a step back. I thought I was going to get more negativity or more blah, but I got so much excitement back that I was like, wait, I can do this. This is perfect. And a few people did tell me, like, well, you've already been coaching me for the last 10 years. So, are you asking for a payment?
Yeah, right. It's like, do I owe you back pay?
Yeah. And so, again, people were using these words that I never thought about what I was doing for the last, basically my entire life. I was coaching people and I didn't know it.
Yeah.
And so I had all this positive feedback. And then I said, this is it. I'm just going to put it out there to the world and be honest about what I'm doing, because I've been working on this for years,
right?
Or not, a couple of years. And so I felt really comfortable because I did do the chicken way and just put my little toes in the water first. Right. But the water was warm.
Yeah, there you go. And now you're building a brand and you're building kind of an image of and a business of who do you want to be and what kind of clients you want to have and all those kind of things. So that's pretty awesome.
And I'm still doing marketing coaching too. That's just because honestly, it's a little bit of fear. I'm still not ready to let that go. Yeah. But teaching marketing is different than doing it. And I love the teaching and the coaching aspect of it. Yeah. So I'm still keeping that around. That might not be my future. I might go more into the life and business coaching, which is mostly career coaching. And the life, I just love life coaching because it is all about your personal life and how you can make that better just by communicating better with your spouse, by being more present with your children and those types of things. I feel like that's the most fulfillment I get, and I think my clients see the biggest change in their life. But the career coaching and the business coaching is so important because we all need to make money somehow. Yeah. Otherwise we can't, live in our homes. So I do want to continue that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have lots of plans, Mark. Lots of plans.
That's so awesome. What are some really good resources, for people? What are some things that you've listen to, whether it's other podcasts or is it books, or do you have any things that stand out to you?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I really love this. People should go check that out.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier, my latest obsession, right, is one of the teachers that I'm really interested in being more like her is Brooke Castillo. She has I think it's called the Life Coach podcast. Okay. It's really, really good. Definitely check that one out. I listen to that daily. And then for more the career business marketing, I really like Gary Vaynerchuk. He's totally in your face. Yeah. But he is, when you actually listen to him, his message and spiel is kindness.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that because they just hear him scream and they kind of walk away. Right. But he talks about kindness all the time. So on a business aspect, I really, really like him. I do like Tony Robbins. I feel like he doesn't connect as well with younger women. I think he's more
very masculine.
Very masculine.
He's kind of cliche too. I feel like this point.
Yeah, he's a little cliche.
And he's been around since the late 80s.
His teachings are good.
Solid.
And every single life coach I've ever worked with still takes his teachings.
Yeah.
So if you can get over that cliche Tony Robbins male, whatever he has there, I think he's great. And then I really listen to just a lot of different ones, and like Mind and Love is another one that I listen to every now and then. Okay, I'm kind of all over the place, but my big one is Brooke Castillo. So
okay, yeah, I'll have to check her out. I haven't heard of her, but
yeah,
she's awesome.
She does coaches, so it's a little bit different. Okay. You learn more about the models and the frameworks behind it.
That's cool. Do you know who Marie Forleo is?
Love her. Yeah. And I don't know if I knew her before you, or if I knew her from you. I don't remember.
Okay.
But I love her. She's fantastic.
She's quirky and funny and super encouraging.
Yeah, and she you can tell she's all from the heart. And that makes a huge difference. And I think that's why she has such great following. Yeah. It's a little different because I feel like, people like Tony Robbins, they say they're from the heart, but are they? They're more about themselves, it seems. But she's definitely like just give. Yeah. She's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. Her videos are great.
Did you have any mentors or anybody in your life who is kind of encouraged you, or were you somebody who really had to call a life coach and get some help from external sources?
I had a marketing mentor, Michael Blimes. He was my boss at the job that I stayed the longest, of course, nice. Right? So a marketing mentor, but I never really had mentors. No, I don't know why. I never really seek them out. Nobody came to me naturally. Right. People always came to me and asked for advice.
Yeah, you were always the mentor.
So I never really did that. I feel like now I'm looking at these people more like that, and I'm picking people out that I really like. But I never had that growing up. I kind of just did my own thing, how I wanted it.
Yeah. No, that's cool. What about some personal stuff? I'd like to hear like what kind of music do you like? What kind of food do you like?
Really embarrassing. I love Justin Bieber.
I mean, this is a safe place.
I can't believe I said this out loud.
I like Justin Bieber too. Okay.
I like pop music. So my music is not really good. I don't like to talk about it because it's embarrassing. It's top 40. But my personal, I'm a nature lover. If you follow me anywhere on Instagram, I have 2 accounts there, my Andrea Palten and my Weekend Eternal. You'll hear me talk about blue space and green space all the time.
What is blue space?
Blue space is anything around water, because we know already from science and from research that when you're around water, a stream, it doesn't have to be the ocean, a stream, a river, something like that, it just calms you down, calms your nerves down, and it gets you to a state of relaxing. Even taking a shower or a bath, if you're not around any water features.
If you're like in New York.
Yeah, totally. And then green space. So for me, that's anything outdoors, right? Hiking, that type of thing. I live by that. Every day, I either hike, walk my dogs, or I drive in the mountains every single day. That's my peace. That's I do meditation. Sometimes I'll park my car somewhere in the mountains and I'll meditate. If it's cold or if it's warm, I'll hike and I'll just sit down in the middle of a trail and I'll start meditating.
Yeah.
It's completely my thing. It's green space and blue space. Just love it, need it. It's in my blood. I think I just have to have it. And I recommend it for everybody.
It reminds you of your days of being Heidi in the hills of
hiding in the hills
of Germany.
And then snowboarding in Boulder. So so that's kind of my thing there. And then my life really revolves around friends, family, and my dogs.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and that's that love and connection and community.
Yeah.
And I moved pretty recently. I moved to a new city, new community, and I ended up landing in this great community. And we immediately started making friends and have people over for tea ceremonies. I'm into tea.
Nice.
Tea ceremonies and wine. And it's something that I didn't seek. I didn't really look for that much before. I had friends all the time, but I never really looked for new people.
Yeah.
So that's been really interesting. It's been a new thing in my life the last 2 years where I've been literally putting myself out there, and it's almost like dating again. And I'm like, hey, I'm Andrea. I don't know anybody here. Will you be my friend? Yeah. So that's been kind of a new experience. And I had to go past my fears for that one.
Yeah.
Putting yourself out there.
Right.
Because not everybody wants to be your friend.
Yeah, exactly. And too, I think this day and age with social media and people just their own little bubbles, they don't want to connect or whatever. They just want their own space and want to be left alone. But I feel like when you really connect with other people and you put yourself out there, that's where the magic happens, relationship. And I even think on a business aspect, a lot of the business that comes my way is just through relationship. It's all based off of, I knew somebody who knew what I was doing and they hired me, So I think you can't really grow if you don't build relationships.
Oh, exactly.
And broaden your sphere.
Yeah. And I have to say that does scare me. I have 5 nieces and everything's done by texting, behind a computer screen, on social media, and I do worry about that. Like, what is it going to look like in 30, 40, 50 years? Oh God, I sound old now. But I do worry about it because it's so easy to just text somebody, then pick up the phone and call. It is so easy to write something on social media and then you think you're connecting, but are you really? I notice with a lot of younger people, eye contact is missing when you're talking. Yeah. Everybody's constantly looking down and texting, and that is something that I fear a little bit for the future.
Yeah. Well, we've even seen a lot of, in our community, the high school close to us, there's been a lot of suicides from high schoolers. Wow. And a lot of it links to them kind of living in this false reality of social media and thinking that they don't have as much as someone else or other groups of people. And so they feel miserable because all they're just seeing is other people's fake lives, Oh, yeah. And so they don't feel like they have anything to live for. And it's like, well, no, actually, that person is just putting on a persona of who they want you to think they are. And it's not really necessarily reality all the time.
Oh, yeah. It's a Photoshopped life.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that, it will be interesting to see what our kids' lives will be like
Yeah.
because of that. And maybe it'll have a huge resurgence of human contact. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like we've kind of over the past several years have gone back to this artesian,
Yes.
people making things by hand and
Yes.
craft beers and all this stuff. So there's a lot has gone back to an old way of doing things. And so maybe
Yeah.
social media will die. And
Yeah. I don't think it's ever going to die, but I'm thinking as a marketer here.
you're like, I don't know if I would want it to die.
But Facebook, look at it. So my
Yeah.
nieces are all, there's a couple that are on Facebook, but all the ones that are teenagers, none of them want to be on it. And they say, it's old people, but they also say it's negative. They all
Yeah.
know that Facebook is negative. So they're choosing not to be on there and going instead on happy Instagram or Snapchat, which is more private with their friends. And they are choosing the better, quote unquote, better social media platforms because they've heard. So they're self-selecting. And so that is a good thing. And I do feel the millennials and the younger folks, they are very much more they're more inclusive. There's not a lot of the stigmas that we grew up with. And I think that hopefully they can turn it around and really do have like, hey, here's the happy platform we should all be on.
Right.
And they are, I don't know if they're going to be meeting in person. I think it might still be behind the screen for a while, but
it'll be like Wall-E, we'll all be in chairs just floating around.
Oh Lord, yes.
Well, that's awesome. What about what are some your hobbies? Hiking, being out, your animals, family, friends. What about food? Do you have any favorites?
Yes, I love Ethiopian food.
Okay, Ethiopian
love it.
is good.
Just the spices and the aromas. Oh, it's just so good.
Nice.
And there's this one Ethiopian restaurant. Can't remember the name, but it's down south, Tech Center-ish. It is so good. I don't know the name of it. I'm gonna have to tell you another time. But it's everybody that's in there is Ethiopian. Hardly anybody speaks English, so it's good.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No German dishes, huh?
I hate German food.
I recently went to a friend's.
bland.
I went to a friend's house and we had this. She made this like purple cabbage dish. It was like purple cabbage.
My mom makes that.
And then it was like thinly sliced meat that was rolled up with like onions and pickles or something.
Rouladen?
Yeah, is that what that is? Yeah,
probably.
Yeah,
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was good. And then it had like kind of like these noodle things with a gravy on it or something.
Yeah,
but it was
Spätzle.
it was very unique.
Yeah, for you. I had that every single day growing up.
Like I'd come home from school and
there it would be.
There it is, the cabbage.
Yeah, I have the anti-German diet is what I like.
Yeah.
The spicier, if it makes me cry, I love it. I love sweating and crying while I eat.
Nice.
Indian food, Ethiopian food, really spicy Mexican food. So it's the opposite from German food.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Listen, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I appreciate your time here and just sharing your story about, where you came from and, the things that you're into. So I want you to kind of leave us with just maybe a positive message, and then also leave us with where we can connect with you and find you. And if someone hears this episode and wants to hire you, like, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. So my positive message to you is anything is possible. You can live a fulfilling life. You just have to work on it and you will get there. And you can find me at AndreaPalten.com, AndreaPalten.com. Also on social media and Instagram under Andrea Palten. Just search me. You'll find me there.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And until next time, have a wonderful, blessed day.